Hello, everybody. It's Royce here, and I want to welcome you all to my Royce in the House YouTube channel. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite artists, Jethro Tull. Saw Jethro Tull in concert myself when I was 18 years old, 1971, Las Vegas, where I grew up at the Ice Palace. Believe it or not, ice skating rink in Las Vegas, of all places. But anyway, it was an amazing show. What a performance. What a wild man on stage. But anyway, so thank you all for joining us. Really looking forward to getting into this. But first, I have to introduce my esteemed panel. Next to me, I got to point the right direction. Now, next to me is Chris Elliott. Chris has been coming on the show as a regular co-host now for, I don't know, what's it been, close to a year, Chris?
Oh, at least I'd say it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then, well, that's great. And Chris is very, very knowledgeable. He really, really a valuable asset to the show. Just below him, directly below him, is Michael Nolan, The Bottom Line. Fastest growing YouTube channel that I'm even aware of. Michael's got great content. He goes live at 5 o'clock on Sunday night. He finishes up around 6, and then we all move over to my channel at 6:30. and we both do
and the pressure's off now, folks.
Yeah.
Hey, Royce, could I mention something from my stream? Kimberly
Absolutely.
was trying to respond as best she can. She was on her phone and thumb typing, and she hit a set of lips, and it went out there, and she thought, oh my God, I hope they don't feel like I was, flirting with them. So if anybody got those lips and read them the wrong way, shame on you.
Well, dang, I didn't get any. Okay, so directly below my good friend Michael Nolan, and I encourage everybody to go check out his channel, The Bottom Line.
Thank you.
He puts on a ton of content. He's got stuff coming on all week long. I've been trying to step it up a little bit. I had a pre-recorded show on this week, and and I've got another pre-recorded already scheduled for next week. So anyway, and we slipped some shorts in there in between as well. So directly below my good friend Michael Nolan is my other good friend, David, Safe and Sound Texas. David has an amazing show. David is a real audiophile. David's the kind of guy that can compare 3 or 4 of the same album, just different pressings. Maybe one's a remaster, maybe one's the original pressing, maybe one's something else. And David's got one of those unique ears where he can take those apart and rank which one's the best, which one's the close second. David just amazes me. I could never do what he does. He's fantastic. Go check out David, Safe and Sound Texas. He's great. You're going to really enjoy that.
I love him. Yep.
Yeah, me too. And right next to him is my good friend Novice Nick. Just like Chris.
Freudian slip there,
that's Mr. Big to you, thank you.
Damn, I don't know what happened there. But he's directly below Chris Elliott, Novice Nick, another powerhouse of knowledge. Novice, tell us again, how many albums do you have?
I don't know. 2,000 counting.
I mean, thousands.
Like
yeah.
that.
I mean, I thought I was doing good at about 600, but yeah, no, you've got multiple versions of some of the Led Zeppelins and different things, And I know, and David's Safe and Sound the same way.
Yeah,
I've seen David's versions of so many different ones.
As a matter of fact, I think I'm the newbie in as far as vinyl when it comes on the channel. I've got about 100 and I'm probably at about 106, 107-ish there. But, I had given up the format. I gave away my LPs and I gave away my CDs. Life happens. It's a story. Oh, it's such a tragedy. Feel sorry for me and give this video a thumbs up. But I'll tell you, Royce, I had kind of given up the format, and then you kept sending them to me. And, of course, I was always interested in it. I mean, before I started getting back into vinyl, I was already watching David and doing his stuff. So I'm brand new as far as collecting vinyl. But you know what I listened today was Jethro Tull's. This was their first album, man. And I'm sure we'll get to that tonight. I'm a newbie, so whatever format you enjoy this music with, though, folks, is
that's exactly
copacetic,
right,
man.
I couldn't let you just stream like my grandkids. You had to have some physical media.
I think you're an evil bastard.
I didn't know I was going to.
See, I have multiple sins.
Yeah, just below me is Rampage Videos, Dawson Walters. Dawson, how you doing tonight?
Hello, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day weekend, and
Thank you. Yeah,
everybody's got their Thin Lizzy and U2 playing, and happy to be here tonight.
You know, St. Patrick's Day is actually my mother's birthday. You know,
Wow.
And yeah.
Speaking of birthdays,
Okay, go
today
ahead.
is my lovely mother's 91st.
Yes.
Oh,
I am super
wow.
blessed.
Oh.
Yes.
I think that's
Absolutely blessed.
yes, you are. I think
Happy
91
birthday.
was how long my mother made it. Was 91.
Well, she's
Yeah,
still driving. She's still working.
Yeah.
She's doing great.
Five
Thank you.
of her last years, she actually lived with Betty and I here. You know, she didn't want to leave Henderson, Nevada, because she had grandkids there, and she came for a visit. Decided she wanted to move down here because she needed some help. She got back and told the grandkids. One of them started bawling. Oh yeah, Grandma's leaving, and she said, "Royce, I'm not coming." So I said, "Okay, let me know if you change your mind." Well, it didn't take too many months later when she changed her mind and said, "Come and get me."
Yeah, family first.
We even had some neighbors calling saying, you know, if you don't come and get her, we're going to call somebody. You know?
Yeah.
She was getting a little confused there at the end, but we had a
Oh, I'm
great time when
sorry.
she moved in. So many great memories.
Well, as
And,
you
I
know,
was-
we had Kimberly's mom living with us, and she
Yeah.
just passed away before Christmas. She was 93. And
Right,
you're right, Nick.
right.
Family comes first, brother.
Okay, that's right, Nick.
I've been blessed enough that David has met Mom. So
Yep.
I've been blessed enough to have
Nice,
David
nice.
over to
You know,
the house.
I met
Yep,
the two of you
Mom-
guys.
Mom's right back there.
You know, I know. Mine's right back. Well, in the other room. I met you, Novice Nick, and David at the same time when Rachel brought everybody that was on a show she was having, brought them over to my channel. You guys remember that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I remember that day.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun time.
Yeah.
Good old Rachel, you know. So okay, so it's time. Dawson, thanks for joining us as well.
Absolutely.
Let's just kind of jump right into this show. Okay. Well, as you all know, Jethro Tull, a British rock band formed in Blackpool, Lancashire in 1967. Initially playing blues, rock, and jazz fusion, the band soon incorporated elements of English folk music, hard rock, classical music, forging a signature progressive rock sound. The group's founder, band leader, principal composer, lead vocalist, and the group's constant member is Ian Anderson. And I'll tell you what,
and a very fine acoustic guitarist, by the way.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
Yes.
Flute and acoustic guitar. The group has featured a
Flutist
succession
extraordinaire.
of musicians throughout the decades. I got a big long list of people that came in and out. I'm not going to read it though. Throughout the decades,
There's
including
over 20 of them.
Oh yeah, it's really funny. Okay, significant contributors such as guitarist Mick Abrahams, Martin Barre, with Barre being the longest-serving member besides Anderson. Okay,
Yep.
so
Now,
anyway,
is that
guys,
how you pronounce his name? Because I've always called him Martin Barre. I don't know
well,
why.
you know what? Barre. I had a friend. His name was Barry, and it was Barre. So I really don't know. It could be.
Yeah, that's interesting.
anything,
Does
you know?
anybody out in the
British,
in the
the
peanut
British.
gallery know?
I say Barre, but I don't know.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm gonna kind of keep going around the loop here and let everybody have multiple chances to comment. So I'm gonna move right over to the side to Chris Elliott. Okay, Chris, what have you got to say about Ian Anderson now?
Sorry, I was muted there. So
Okay.
obviously an incredible frontman.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
My cousin, older cousin, but he's been to a zillion concerts. He swears that Jethro Tull was the best concert he ever saw. Said Ian Anderson on stage playing the flute, throwing it in the air, catching it, playing, and just keep singing and not missing a beat. He said it was an amazing show. that they
Yeah,
got.
well, I'll tell you, Chris. When you see him live, especially back in the day when his hair looked like it was down to his knees, big, huge, flowing hair, playing that flute and the way he moved around, lifting his knees up and different things, it was like like nothing I'd ever seen before when I went. It was something else.
Well, I saw him again after that in 2017 here at Casino Windsor.
Okay.
That one's got a personal connection, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But yeah, it was a great show. I saw it, and it was a great show.
Yeah, it really was a great show. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Okay, well, let's move on over to Michael Nolan for some, early comments here.
Yeah,
I know you're a big fan, Michael.
Oh yeah, big fan. My first experience with Tull was late. It was Aqualung. Aqualung hit the airwaves. It was a big hit. It was a huge hit. Everybody, all the stations were covering it. FM, AM. Good Lord, you couldn't walk away from Aqualung.
Right.
So I got the album. I fell in love with the cover. I loved the way it opened up, and his wife's words were there in the beginning. God, man created God, or something like that. So a very bittersweet translation of Genesis 1, but turned around, and with that statement, I heard, God, I'm wondering what is my favorite concept album of all time, and I see Aqualung as a concept album, despite anything that Ian Anderson has ever said.
Okay.
Because you see on side 1 the monster Aqualung, side 2 is an exploration of his youth. He was born a gentry kind of guy, sent off to school, as often kids were in those days, got a higher education, and walked out of that school with their God tucked up underneath his arm. And then things got out of control, and Charlie stole the handle, and the damn train won't slow down. The whole thing's a concept album. So I became an immediate fan. And Thick as a Brick was like, I even at the time, I do no longer think this, but at the time thought was even a more superior album. I think Aqualung is one of those golden albums that there's Aqualung and then there's the rest of Tull to me. And there's some mighty fine, I'm talking top-notch classic albums, right? And so I bought that, and then Passion Play came out, and I saw them in San Francisco for the Passion, and whoever it was it Chris was saying that they were so damn tight, and I couldn't believe, because they're such a mishmash sound. All right. Now, I did want to say that my favorite personal album by them, it probably wouldn't be on anybody's top 3 list. I love Stormwatch. Okay, and again, a concept comes to mind, especially with that wonderful cover and everything. But Heavy Horses, what do you pick between Heavy Horses and Animals by Pink Floyd? It's the same trip. Animals representing different types of human beings. This was a band that created art, folks, and they put that art onto their covers, into their music. I listened to their first album today, Royce. That was my latest acquisition out of the 3 that I own right now. And I got to tell you, if I had heard them before, I'm not sure I would have fallen for it. That first track off the first album sounds almost like that was it Van Morrison? In the daydream. It almost has that, and I wasn't a big fan of that. I love that song, but I didn't love that kind of jazz, bass, blues being played in 3/4 waltz and stuff. But I loved it today. I've got to get into their pre-Aqualung era, because I always eschewed from it. I thought of them, well, they came to life during Aqualung, maybe a few cuts, maybe a few cuts before that. I like about 3 cuts off this album, 2 cuts off that. So in a nutshell, that's what I feel about it. I think they are not only one of rock's better bands, but I think they belong on the top pantheon of bands. They offered a subgenre all into themselves, and it was always evolving. Sorry, David. I didn't
no, that's so, okay, Michael. I just wanted to say that the comment you made about Aqualung, kind of like that's when Jethro Tull started. I don't think you're alone with that sentiment, actually. So anyway, we'll drop down to David.
Well,
now.
it's a popular album. Yeah, it's like a gimme.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, you like Aqualung? Right. What a surprise, right?
Right. So, David, big Jethro Tull fan, I take it.
Yeah, I saw them 13 times. Actually,
saw obsessed much.
Man, I am jealous.
Ye are blessed, my son.
I had the privilege when they were doing stages where two sides would come out into the audience.
Okay.
They had a seat right near one of those jutting stages.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sit on by Ian Anderson out of his flute.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, if you ever watch videos, you see it flying in the air.
Okay.
I mean, the thing about Tull is Tull was when they were on tour, and these guys would tour anywhere. I saw them in a gymnasium once of 5,000 people. It was a very large gymnasium, but only 5,000 people. But they came, and it was outside Chicago. And so they would play. They were tour monsters. I think a lot of people forget that about them.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would tell you is you've never heard Ian Anderson until you've heard him in quad.
Oh, okay.
This is the big one, Elizabeth.
I knew we could count on you.
Damn you, David.
Yeah, so War Child and Aqualung came there. And of course, they gave us the first Viagra internal cover. The pop-up.
That's what I mean.
Pop up.
Like the key bands of our era, they put so much into their album artwork, you know. It was just wonderful.
Ian Anderson was he was very wild on stage, very theatrical, I would say.
Yeah, I would say the same thing.
You know, but he was so disciplined. And I mean, he would get into those talking through his flute routines.
Yes.
He would go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I can tell you from somebody who saw him multiple nights in a row, he was different every night.
The night I saw him, you could see the spittle coming off his face.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean,
it was down and dirty freaking rock and roll, and yet it was progressive, yet not quite progressive, but it was something, you know? I mean, this is a band that got recognized as a top heavy metal band over Metallica.
But you got to wonder if the record executives ever said, well, which one's Jethro?
Yeah, I know.
It's like Pink Floyd.
And you mentioned, Michael, that Jethro Tull didn't even show up to the award show because they figured it was locked up by Metallica.
Right.
No, that's right. They were Metallica was expected to walk away with it.
Yeah, they didn't even bother showing up. They figured it was.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
Another excellent example of how well we can trust the music industry. You know.
Oh, I got a
Jethro Tull, #1 metal band of all time. You know. I mean. Now that doesn't cut Jethro Tull down. They could be downright heavy, hinging on almost a metallic sound, especially with Martin's guitar, Grimes. You know, I miss him. You know, even though I'm a fan of the last album they did. I didn't like the one before, Rock Float. I gave it a good review on my channel, the two pre-releases are sounding good. It's kind of a slow warm-up for me. So nothing that sparkled my attention, but I was ill when I heard them. So, but I still enjoyed them. It was just nothing that grabbed me yet. But the man as Jethro Tull, because really he's the only Jethro Tull left. So it's one of those things. It's more of an Ian Anderson. So under the guise of Jethro Tull, even though he was kind of head honcho pretty much throughout.
He was head honcho for sure.
Yeah, and it's one of those bands you almost give, special dispensation to because they always change their members. I mean, this first album didn't have Martin Barre that I was listening to today.
Right.
You know, they had
Hey,
Anthony
Michael.
or Mike.
Buzz.
Michael.
Michael.
Oh, okay. Let's
Yeah.
move over
There's
here
still
to
a few more of
novice.
us to talk if you don't suck all the air out of the room.
Okay,
I apologize profusely there.
Okay. Novice, you're up, baby. You're up.
Oh, okay. Well, Ian Anderson, from what I understand, is an athlete extraordinaire because he could bounce all over that stage, from what I
Yes, he
understand.
could. Yeah, that's right.
He also was at odds with Led Zeppelin because Led Zeppelin they didn't produce a rock concert, they gave a rock concert. Whereas Ian Anderson believed that every town should have the same show that they saw in every town. It should be
I see.
choreographed and done so everybody gets to have the exact
To see
same show.
that
Am I
show.
right or wrong?
That's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
From this is from the knowledge I've accumulated, that he believed that, and that's where maybe he got a bit of a tyrant handle put onto him, that he did like every different, now multiple shows at one place would be different, but he would take those multiple shows and take them to the next stop and show them multiple shows again, and each one was choreographed the same because he wanted everyone to experience the same show. So when you went around the country, you could say, yeah, I saw him and he did this, this, and this. You're like, were we there together? Because that's exactly what he did. Yeah, and that's what he wanted everyone to have the same experience. And the other thing is, he wishes to this day that they didn't get stuck with the name Jethro Tull.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Oh, yeah. To this day, he wishes that they didn't. And we all, I'm sure, as someone mentioned this before, the reason they got named Jethro Tull is because in the beginning, and you mentioned this many times before, Royce, that they were putting on shows that no one was watching, and they wanted to keep going to the same place, but they couldn't get booked under the same name. So of course, their manager would come up with different names, and one of the people working for the manager was a historian, and was really into history. And one day they threw out Jethro Tull. They said, "Hey, that band that was out tonight, Jethro Tull, we want them to come back and book them for multiple shows." Well, that's how they got stuck with the name, because that's how they got booked.
I see.
And to this day, I've read that he wishes he had more to say, but you can't change your branding or your name once you're selling. I mean, because you really just crush it. You're not selling the 15 million albums, under a different name. You're selling it under the name everybody knows.
Yeah, Novice, that's exactly right, because I read a big list, almost a whole paragraph of names that they used.
Yeah, and that could be part of him wanting perfection, and not only what he does, but he demanded from others, and he wanted the shows not to be improv. Like, he couldn't stand Led Zeppelin doing improv. They're doing different things at different times. Sometimes they just go off on a riff and come back 20 minutes later. That would drive Ian out of his mind, from what I understand.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? I think you're 100% right about what you're saying. I got a couple of stories I'm going to tell later. And one of them has to do with, Frank Zappa's dying request from his deathbed to Ian Anderson. That's kind of an interesting little story. Then there's another one, too. But anyway, so, okay, we'll move over to Dawson now. And Dawson, you are up.
So, we got Jethro Tull, and they grew up in Britain and in the mid-'60s, and they're starting out, and then they finally started in '67. But, in the early days, Ian Anderson, he had to live in his van for about 3 months. He took the risk. He bought the van so that he could bring the guys around, and he was eating dog food for quite a while. I guess that's kind of why he kind of looked like he had rabies when he was on stage and playing the flute. And then my first time I heard Jethro Tull, I was at my friend Jonah's house, and he's an avid collector. So we go down there in the basement, and one day he'll be playing Zeppelin, and another day Styx. And he just said, we got all the boys together and sat on the couch. He said, "Hey, here's Jethro Tull." I said, "Okay." And he starts playing it, and you hear that riff for the first time, that super heavy Aqualung riff. And I was just hooked after that. Jethro Tull isn't just a band; it's an experience, and you really
that is exactly right. It's not just a band; it's an experience.
Right into the whole world of Tull. So that was the early experiences I had so far.
I'm trying to understand what happened to Michael Nolan. He came on and said something like, "Where are you at?" That now that very comment is gone, and he's not even down there to be brought back up. So hopefully you'll get back on here, Michael. Appreciate it. Okay, so anyway, guys, all right, let's move on to a couple of other little things, little more narrative here. Okay, the band achieved moderate recognition in the London club scene and released their debut album, This Was, in 1968, after a lineup change which saw original guitarist Mick Abrahams replaced by Martin Barre. The band released a folk-tinged second album, Stand Up, in 1969, which reached #1 in the UK and gave the band its first commercial success. It also embarked on a heavy schedule of touring and recording, releasing one studio album every year until 1980. One album a year. That's pretty impressive stuff. The musical style shifted in the direction of progressive rock, starting with Aqualung in 1971, which went on to become the band's most commercially successful album. Their music style shifted again to folk rock in the late 70s. To the early 80s, the band underwent a major lineup change and began to lean into electronic rock. The band won their first Soul Grammy Award for the 1987 album Crest of the Knave, if I'm saying that right, which saw them returning to a hard rock style. Jethro Tull sold an estimated 60 million albums worldwide, 11 gold and 5 platinum albums. They have been described by Rolling Stone as one of the most commercially successful eccentric bands of all the rock bands. Okay, all right, let's get back to the panel and see what's going on here. Again, I don't see Michael anywhere. Chris, let's see. How you doing, Chris? I'm going to start making the people speaking bigger. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing okay. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things.
Okay, good.
That you had already mentioned. As far as when Abrahams left, and before they got Martin Barre, Tony Iommi was recruited to play guitar, even though he already had Black Sabbath. He was there for a few weeks until Barre was recruited. But during that time, he was with the band when they did the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus TV special. And there is a video on YouTube with
that's exactly right. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that whole thing is they were Black Sabbath. I can't remember if they were the Blues Polka Tulk or they changed their name to Earth yet. I don't think they were Black Sabbath yet. But Ian Anderson was playing in all the clubs around there where they were trying to get gigs. And so what happened was Ian told me, he said, "Hey guys, I'll give you a little tip. A lot of times there's no shows on these bands. Hang out in front of the popular clubs, and every once in a while there'll be a no show, and you guys can run in there and set up and play." So one night they're playing in a club, and Geezer Butler playing bass. He looks up, and here comes Ian Anderson through the crowd. It was Jethro Tull that didn't show up that night. Here comes Ian Anderson through the crowd, and he stops right in front of Tony Iommi, and he was in the middle of trying to find a new guitar player, and he was absolutely mesmerized by Iommi's guitar playing, and Geezer Butler, in Geezer Butler's own words, it's like, I've got his book, Into the Void. And Geezer Butler was like, "Oh my God, this is my worst nightmare come true. Ian's looking for a guitar player. We're just finally starting to get some traction with our band."
Smaller, Royce.
Oh, okay. we're finally starting to get some traction with our own band, gaining some popularity and stuff. And of course, Tony Iommi and Bill Ward were in another band, and a little bit out of town from where they're playing and where they live. They became pretty popular. I can't remember the name of the band, the Majestics or something like that. Somebody can correct me on that. But anyway, so Geezer Butler was kind of freaking out because that's all he wanted to do was play music, like most musicians. And he saw what was going on there between Ian Anderson and Tony Iommi, and he said, after the show was over, he told Tony, "I would like you to come down and audition. We need a new guitar player. We're getting ready to do an American tour and all this stuff." And so Tony went down and auditioned, and he did get hired. But I'm going to stop right there because I have kind of a little other version of that story. It's one of two stories I want to talk about later. So anyway, I'm going to get small again. Wait, Chris, did you have more to say right now?
Well, I got a few different things, like just to show everybody. I'm getting what I'm reading out of this. Let me go back. 1977 Illustrated Rock or Encyclopedia of Rock, and it's got all kinds of stuff in there. So I'll just keep throwing the little tidbits here and there.
Okay, right on. Okay, it looks like we're going to be moving now over to David's Safe and Sound.
Yeah, an album you may see in the bins and not know what it is one called, and you can't really read it, MU, The Best of Jethro Tull.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You ever going through a bin looking at something thinking this is just a regular white, maybe the White Album? Well, it isn't the White Album.
Right. That's the first thing that came to mind. Yeah.
Or if it's a blank, it isn't. It's very hard to read, but it's a really good introduction to their tunes, a $5 record essentially, but often misled or just passed by, I guess I would say. And another aspect of Tull has been some of the reissues by Steven Wilson. Now he did them on LP, and he also did like this Tull 40th anniversary here.
Oh, look at that!
And it has a DVD and a booklet in it as well.
Oh, nice.
Whole book inside of it.
Wow.
So this is my sealed copy. I've got one I opened, but this is my sealed copy.
No,
and they did this release for most of their albums, actually.
Really?
Oh, wow.
So if you're not into vinyl and you're into CDs and you want a DVD and it's got 5.1 Steven Wilson remix on here.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Which is excellent. And these are not that
that is amazing. Really?
Yeah, they're
where do you get them now?
I got this one through a place called the SDE Shop, oneword.com. And I get a lot of 5.1 out of them. Now they're out of Britain, but if you order, 3 or 4 things, the shipping isn't really that bad at all. So there's a lot of selection there of 5.1 stuff, but there's a whole set of these that you can get.
Wow.
And they may be on Amazon as well. I just really honestly hadn't looked, but
no, that's great.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. Okay, thank you, sir. We shall move on to Novice Nick.
I was just reviewing. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about live albums, but I really do like the Variety. I believe it came out in '78. Has a nice variety, nice solo of Ian, but it's really got A, B, C, D. It's a 2-disc album. I'm sorry, 4 sides, and it's really good live concert. You can almost feel them jumping around the stage. Because the panning of the microphones and such. But it's a good concert. I like it. It's like what's not to like about Jethro Tull? I mean, we could spend a whole day on a few of the different albums that they've produced.
Oh, I know.
And then there's a lot of stuff that not familiar with, but the mixture of when I said I was triple sinner, it was because I do like jazz and I do like blues and I do like progressive rock and rock. So it's
right.
And Jethro Tull over the time has produced all that music. So, right, gotta love them. Gotta love the band.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All righty, sir. We shall move over to Mr. Dawson Walters now.
So when they were playing in the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus, I have the interesting thing about the Rolling Stones is that you can follow their chronology, and then they'll weave into different bands. And one of the ones that was, as Chris was saying, was Jethro Tull. And I have here, it says, to cap it all, the band decided to create their own TV spectacular, the Rock and Roll Circus. All too soon, the budget rapidly escalated to £32,000, or that's over $500,000 today.
Wow.
But it promised to be spectacular. On 10 December, rehearsals began for the band's TV project, directed by Michael Lindsay Hogg, who makes lots of DVDs. But the whole thing proved to be just a step too far for everyone. Beside the Stones, there were John Lennon and Yoko Ono, The Who, Jethro Tull, American bluesman Taj Mahal, Eric Clapton, Mitch Mitchell from the Jimi Hendrix Experience,
drummer,
Clowns, A Tiger in a Cage, and they keep on going on. But very ambitious production, and we'll see if I have a picture here. I don't think that you can see Ian, but just so you can get the scale of it,
okay,
you can see pretty much every rock band here that was relevant at that time.
Oh wow, that's crazy!
Rolling Stones on air as part of their.
That is a nice book.
Their coffee table book. Their 1968 album. So that kind of continues their narrative from Black Sabbath to Jethro Tull and getting this these blues influences. And one more thing I would probably say is early on, the radio people, the record people, and some fans, they were like, well, hey, you want to play flute in a rock band? That doesn't really work out. I don't think we can't play you guys on the radio just yet. And, you're what kind of band is this? Is this jazz? And people just didn't get the concept at the time. That's why they had to tour extra hard and to play all these extra shows just so that they can have Ian Anderson's vision of what his rock band and their rock band.
He was very, very disciplined. Those guys practiced. I mean, I don't know how many hours a day, but it was like that brief period of time that Iommi spent with them. He brought that discipline back to Black Sabbath, which was probably Earth at the time. But he brought that discipline back and said, listen, this is what it takes to make it. This is the one thing I really learned from being with Ian, and he cranked everybody up and got them going, as far as like a heavy practice schedule.
For sure. And they booked a studio multiple times a week, and they really got it together for that first album. So key to that discipline was their drummer. They had the drummer to signal each time they had a key change or a verse to chorus. They would hit the cowbells. That's why also from the flute, you also hear the cowbell quite often to signal those rhythmic changes.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Again.
Oh, okay. We'll do that. All right. So here we go. We're going to a little more narrative stuff here. Well, the band ceased recording activity in the 2000s for a while, but continued to tour until splitting in 2011. I don't know how many times they split, but following the band's split, Anderson and Barre continued to record and tour as solo artists, with Anderson's band billed variously as both Jethro Tull and Ian Anderson solo. Anderson said in 2014 that Jethro Tull had come more or less to an end. Starting in 2017, however, Anderson revived the Jethro Tull name and returned to releasing new studio albums in the 2020s. Okay. The current group includes musicians who were part of Jethro Tull during the last years of his initial run, as well as newer musicians associated with Anderson's solo band with Barre's involvement. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the plot is thickening here. But if you go back to the early years, okay, a little bit here, they got their first major break at the National Jazz and Blues Festival at Sunbury-on-Thames in August 1968, where they drew a rapturous reception, positive reviews in the music press. They said their success at Sunbury, was a result of persistent touring, which had generated a grassroots following who came to the festival and encouraged the rest of the audience. Cornick recalled, from that moment on, we were big. Okay, so the group recorded their first album. This was, we actually mentioned that earlier, between June and August of 68, released in 68. It reached number 10 in the UK charts. In addition to original material, the album included the 1961 Dr. Ross Blues Cat's Squirrel, which highlighted Abrahams' blues rock style and the Rasheed Rollins Kirk Penn jazz piece, Serenade to a Cuckoo. I don't know how much of that I just screwed up, which gave Anderson a showcase for his growing talents on the flute. Anderson described the group's first sound around this time as sort of a progressive blues with a bit of jazz. Okay, progressive blues with a bit of jazz. So okay, so let's get back to our esteemed panel here. Now, I don't know what happened to Michael Nolan. People have been asking about him, and he made a final comment after he disappeared from the screen, and I never saw him again. So, Michael, if you're listening, I don't know if you can type a word in and say, "Hey, I'm all right." Let us know. Ian's Secret Language of Birds is a great album too. Right on. And here's Groovy Lisa. I own a few Jethro Tull albums. Yeah, I have 5. I don't have like a huge collection of them, but I've always had some. You know, I've always had some Jethro Tull. Okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. I was trying to get my good friend Dave Hopfrog up here. In fact, Dave, I'm going to put up a link right now. If you'd like to come on and hang out with us on the panel, I just put up a link for you, and you're very, very welcome, Dave, to join us. Okay. So let's see. All right. So let's go ahead and get back to our rotation, because I know everybody has a whole lot to see. So we're moving to Chris Elliott right now. You're up, Chris.
All right. Just wanted to kind of touch on a few points we already had going on earlier.
Okay.
Just a description they have in here about Ian Anderson. It says, from the start, Ian Anderson cut a startlingly eccentric figure, his rat's tail's hair hanging over an oversized, dirty overcoat and a pair of moth-eaten bumpers. To cap it all, he evicted a caustic line in wit, and again unique, was a front man who played the flute. Not very well at first, mind. He'd only picked it up by listening to a Roland Kirk album.
No
but
kidding.
when he lacked initially in expertise, he made up for it in infectious enthusiasm. And then it goes on to talk about the Jazz Fest that you just mentioned, Royce.
Okay, cool. Okay, then, thank you. We'll move over here to David, safe and sound. How you doing, David? Good.
So one of the raps on Jethro Tull records is that they weren't recorded that great, and they don't sound that great. And to some degree, I think that's very true.
Okay.
I don't think that was ever the most important thing to them, especially Ian Anderson. It was more the musicianship and the way the body of work flowed.
I see.
And the end result. And I think part of that is why we did get, so many of these reissues, like by Stephen Wilson.
Okay.
So you'll see these stickers for like Stephen Wilson's remix.
New stereo mix,
They are excellent remixes. Now, these aren't just remasters. These are remixes. And let me clarify the difference.
Okay, good.
A remix means that you have the original multi-channel tape or source, and you are remixing how it sounds left and right, and you can move things around. you can increase and decrease the volume or EQ on any particular instrument or voice. So very different than remastering, which doesn't have as huge an effect because it's only dealing with 2-track stereo.
Gotcha.
So these actually, I want to say fix, and that's probably a strong word, but they definitely give better life to the recordings.
Oh, that's
than
great.
they were originally.
Thanks so much for sharing that. I wouldn't have had. I had no idea.
Yeah,
I had no
it's
idea.
almost. It's definitely different sounding. A different sounding record.
So those are remixes by who?
Stephen Wilson.
And he did all of them, Stephen Wilson?
He did. Yeah, he's the one who did all of the ones. And he's done He's done the whole Yes catalog.
Oh, no kidding.
Remixed it as well. He's an artist of his own.
Stephen's outstanding.
Yeah, and he's an artist of his own right, musically. But he's kind of like the Alan Parsons of this generation in a way with what he has done.
Good point.
With some of these things. So it definitely, I think you can stream these so you could hear the differences. And so it's good to check it out. And also,
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it also lays bare some of the deficiencies that existed. And I want to say kudos to Ian Anderson for allowing someone to take multi-track tapes and do this, because you can't just do that. You have to have the blessing. And for him to do that and then to sign off on it means that he knew there was something that could be improved on this, and he allowed that to happen. And I appreciate that, because as an audiophile, I've always been a little frustrated with some of the quality of the original pressings.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing that. I'm so impressed with that. I got to get some of those. Okay. All right. So it looks like Nick is back up.
Yep. I'm surprised that Stephen's not more well known, because he's world famous for doing Aqualung. There's the original. We know there was a foul up on one of the tracks. I can't recall. I'm sure David will fill us in, but he vastly improved that album. It's not quite night and day, but the improvements are significant.
Wow.
So,
does anybody else hear that clicking noise?
Yeah. Stephen, like David mentioned,
Yeah, I think you're having a little bit of trouble there, Nick. I mean, you're freezing and stuff a little bit.
He's a cold guy.
Okay.
I'm going to shut my camera off and see if it continues to do that.
Okay.
Are we clicking now?
No, it's not clicking now.
He shut off his pacemaker.
Oh, no.
That's a scary thought.
And I'm back. No, I'm sorry, no. David. You're the one with the... No, not yet.
Not yet.
Hey, Dawson.
I'll follow up on David's point there, and I heard the 40th anniversary edition. I think there was multiple different types, but I know for sure it was the 40th. I don't know if it was the Stephen Wilson remix.
He did the 40th. Yep, he did.
Oh, that was the 40th one?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Okay, so that sounds amazing, and it's one of the maybe dozen remix or albums that I like just as much or even better than the original. And I had so much fun when my friend would come over. I'd have the original one, and he'd have the 40th on CD. So we'd put it on the radio, and we compare them, and okay, let's turn up the bass more here. Let's turn up the flute here, and we felt like the own engineers, and we could make our own Jethro Tull album. So I was like, "Oh yeah, my mix is better," and he's like, "Oh, my mix is better," and his mix was better because he had the album. And when you hear a lot of remixed or remastered albums, it's just sometimes it sounds tinny, or it sounds I like the original better. I like the film. I like the tape. But this one, it sounded modern, it sounded new, it had this freshness to it, and you could really hear all the bells and whistles and chimes and the way that they might have intended originally for that to happen.
Okay.
So I have another note here. In '68, yeah, they had the thing here. Oh, yeah, okay, I got my bookmark. This is the Rolling Stones. It's only rock and roll. The ultimate guide to the Rolling Stones. It's very comprehensive up to 1997. So I think this one here, it says December 10th, 12, 1968. The controversy about the Rock and Roll Circus was it wasn't broadcasted until probably around 97. Because the Rolling Stones didn't like exactly how some of the show was shot and all this background noise stuff that was happening. But yep, so they had the Tull appearance there, and I mean it's one of the biggest appearances from all the bands they got together, and that really solidified all of those bands and brought them all up to a higher level, as Royce was saying earlier, in discipline. For them to be part of that British rock scene and to really bring it out from the clubs to the stadiums to all the audience.
Right. Okay, thank you. We'll move over to David, see what David's got going on over there. How you doing, Dave?
Good. Remember, it's time for the shenanigans to begin.
Yeah.
This is for anybody that doesn't know, this is David. He's got a show called I Am Hop Frog. Very entertaining. Dave's a great guy, super knowledgeable, and we always appreciate when he can join us. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I know a little bit. Yeah, my aunt, like I said, she was a throwback hippie, even though she was born kind of too late, and she was 6 years older than me. So it was like having a big sister. She introduced me to Jimi Hendrix, like I said before, and also Jethro Tull. All my friends go, that's Hobbit rock. How can you possibly like that?
Hobbit rock.
When Iron Maiden covered Cross-Eyed Mary, I had the last laugh.
Yeah, Cross-Eyed Mary, yeah.
So I got this one here. I've got Thick as a Brick.
Nice.
With the newspaper thing in there. Why did I put this one here? Anyways, shout out. This is a really good band. They're kind of inspired by Jethro Tull, called Truth and Janie.
Okay.
They came out in '67. Pretty cool stuff.
Nice.
Temporary. Minstrel in the Gallery. And this one here is pretty cool. This is Tull to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die.
Yeah.
And it's some people probably already have this one, but it's
Good
kind
album.
of fold out and has a little cartoon in there and stuff. It's
Right.
Cool.
Right.
And then this.
Good stuff, Dave. Good
this
stuff.
is really cool here. Jethro Tull, Living in the Past.
Oh, yeah. I don't have that. I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a booklet. It has a bunch of pictures and stuff in there.
Oh, great.
So it's good fun.
Yeah, no, you've got some good stuff there, brother.
Yeah, I keep my eyes open whenever I can. Keep my eyes and ears open.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we'll get the rotation back going again since people are starting to show vinyl. I also have, of course, Aqualung and Thick as a Brick. I really like both these albums. I like a lot. Then I have War Child, Jethro Tull, Too Old to Rock and Roll, and Too Young to Die, just like you, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a good one here too, and this is the last one I have. You know, songs from the wood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so so we've got everybody seems to have some Jethro Tull. You know, I mean, it's like, yeah. Thank you, Dwayne Wolotica. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really like these Tull albums, and I've got to get more too. Seems like I can never get all that I want of anybody. You know, I mean, Jimi Hendrix has got 3 studio albums, and I've got, I think, 23 Jimi Hendrix albums. You know, all the Led Zeppelin studio albums. When I got through with that, I started collecting the lives, and I got a long ways to go there. But there's a lot out there. But anyway, so that's the way it goes with this stuff. I mean, when you love music and you love some of these artists, man, you just can't help yourself. You've got to take it when you find it. I mean, if the conditions are right and everything like that. But anyway, so let's get back to a little bit of narrative here. Okay, so let's see, where were we? We were talking about some of the album, like they recorded the first album. This was, let's see, we got Down Past Rasheen, Roland Kirk penned jazz piece. Anderson described the group's sound around that time as sort of progressive. Yeah, we covered all that. Okay. Okay, so following the album's release, Abrams left the band in December to form his own group. And several reasons were given for his departure. Abrams had heard that Ellis wanted Anderson to be the front man and group leader at his expense, and he realized that it was unlikely to have the majority share in songwriting. Okay, so there was a lot of different reasons there. Let's see. I think we're getting along in time here, and I want to kind of maybe get down to a couple of stories that I had, and a couple of stories about Ian Anderson. Okay, I mean there's a lot of stuff written. Okay, but I've got story number one. Okay, in the late '60s, when Black Sabbath was still known by different names such as the Blues Polka Tulk or Blues Polka Tulk Blues Company, the Earth Blues Company, and Earth, Tony Iommi, I mentioned a little bit of this earlier because it came up, Chris brought it up, was offered a chance to join Jethro Tull. In fact, it kind of freaked Geezer Butler out because they knew Tull was looking for a new guitar player, and they were up there playing on stage, and it was Tull that didn't show up that night. And Jethro Tull walked in, went right through the crowd, and stood right in front of Tony Iommi. Like I said, was kind of mesmerized by his guitar playing. And so Iommi went and auditioned for him, and Iommi was given the job. But according to Geezer Butler, this is a little bit different ending than what I heard earlier. Iommi went, he covered some stuff that was already brought up, and he quit and came back. And I mean, Geezer Butler and crew couldn't have been more excited because they thought it was over for them. Geezer Butler was going to have to go back to being an accountant and all this stuff. He just hated the idea. But anyway, so what happened was he came back, and he told everybody, he goes, this was according to Geezer Butler in his book, Into the Void. Iommi said, "I'm not going to play with anybody that wants to tell me how I'm supposed to play."
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so Iommi, accepted the offer initially, but it was short-lived. He came back to his group, and after that, they really started taking off. Okay. So, what he said about the experience was, he said he'd sit on one table, Iommi, and the Jethro Tull band, they would sit like at another table. It just didn't feel like a proper band to me. So I talked to Ian. I said, "Look, I'm going to leave. I miss my old friends, but I'll tell you what, it changed our careers." I said to Geezer, "Let's get back together again and frickin' get some work done and make this thing happen. We can become big too." So he drew his inspiration from Ian Anderson's work ethic, like I mentioned a little while ago, and determination, realizing that they need to write their own material, put in an effort to succeed. And that's when they started practicing night and day, which he learned with Ian Anderson. Iommi drew inspiration from Ian's work. Okay. Little did Iommi know that Black Sabbath would go on to change the world of music. Their drive, combined with their unique sound and influential songwriting, would leave an indelible mark on the rock genre and inspire countless bands that followed them in their footsteps. Okay, so that's one of my little stories. Okay, I have another story, and I want you guys to know I actually did a video on this story called Frank Zappa's Dying Request to Ian Anderson, and I have that video. You can go on my Rock and Roll Chronicles or my other music channel. It's on both of them. And so I'll give a little brief on that. There's a full video on it. It's a great video. I think I've got 67 or 77,000 views on it. It was probably my biggest video. It was only 7 minutes long. But anyway, on the surface, it seemed like a strange request that on his deathbed, pioneering artist Frank Zappa requested that Ian Anderson call him. Okay. Zappa had a hand in the careers and lives of so many as leaders of the world of weird avant-garde rock. And I got to tell you, this last year, I've really gotten into Zappa, and I really appreciate him now. And I've probably got 5 or 6 videos that are focused on Zappa. Okay. And they're all fun to watch. Anyway, Zappa had a hand in the careers and lives of so many. As a leader of the world of weird and avant-garde, he had his Mothers of Invention, he had his girls group, the GTOs, his 4 creative children, and a whole horde of friends, peers, students, and others that, whose lives he'd impacted, So, okay, so, and Anderson was and still is a major fan of Zappa's, and he acknowledges Zappa's impact on the music world. As Frank Zappa's prostate cancer worsened, he was busy with emotional goodbyes, praise from friends and colleagues. However, Frank Zappa had one request, said Ian Anderson. I received a message from Frank asking me to call him. Anderson recalls, I had never met him, but my instincts told me he didn't like Jethro Tull. Anderson, it was a little bit odd that he wanted me to call him. Zappa had been outspoken about his feelings towards Anderson's band, and they weren't very pleasant, said Ian Anderson. People like Zappa were pissed off about the British invasion. The British invasion blew up. The bands were all getting a lot of play. And Zappa's band and other bands that he managed weren't doing that well. And he was kind of pissed off about the British invasion. Anderson recalled that Anderson said Zappa felt threatened. Okay. Zappa felt threatened by the British invasion. Okay. So anyway, people like Zappa were pissed because of that. Okay, so when the request came for Anderson to call Zappa, it came through Anderson dialed Zappa several times, but couldn't stay on the line. Each time he hung up when he heard the dial tone. Because it was just kind of weird. They did this dance around each other. They never actually met. They never actually talked. Ian Anderson was a fan of Zappa's, but the bottom line was Zappa just didn't know what to say to a dying man, especially when they really hadn't been friends. And Zappa had said some negative things about him. But Anderson found out later that Zappa just wanted to say hi to a few people, and he was chosen to be one of them. Anderson stated if he could retrace his steps, he would have stayed on the line. Okay. So that's kind of a fun story, but it's a much bigger story if you're actually on my YouTube channel watching the video. It's a fun story. It was very popular. I've got a bunch of Zappa shows. I've got Why Zappa Called John Wayne a Nazi at the Whiskey A Go-Go. That's a fun story. The guards had to hold drunken John Wayne back. He was getting all pissed off. I got another one that Zappa had just met John Lennon and Yoko Ono. This is another video I've got out there. And he invited them to come on down to the Fillmore East. They were in New York. He wasn't at Laurel Canyon at the time. He invited them to come on down to the Fillmore East, and after he finished his set, John and Yoko could just come up and jam with him. So they actually came. They came and they got up and they jammed with him. And he told them in advance, he goes, listen, I'm going to have this recorded. I'm going to use some of it. You guys take what you want and use some of it. Well, what he hadn't figured on, though, one of the songs that they did, most of it was just jamming, but one of them was actually a song that Zappa already had on one of his albums. And the name of the song was King Kong. And so John and Yoko took that song, renamed it Jamrag, which was, I think, French for feminine napkin or Kotex, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so they renamed it and they took writing credit for Zappa's song King Kong. And Zappa was a little bit pissed, but Zappa was kind of a good-natured guy with a great sense of humor. And he just let it go. He never even said a word to him about it. So anyway, so that's another one of the shows I have on there that have Zappa in them. But there are others too. Go to the channel, check out some of these Zappa shows. I became a big Zappa fan through doing these shows and continue to buy his albums today. So anyway, let's let's skip back. I mean, we're kind of getting short on time here a little bit. Chris, maybe we'll call this more or less closing comments now.
Okay. Just this book that I've been reading from, it's compiled by Nick Logan and Bob Wolfenden, but they're from the New Musical Express, so they're critics themselves, right?
Okay, yeah.
So a story when Aqualung came out says Aqualung, with lyrics of the title song by Anderson's wife Jenny, which I didn't know, was Jethro Tull's first excursion into concept albums, with one whole side devoted to the group leader's views on organized religion. Though some of the gentler, wittier side of the band remained, this was in large measure bombastic and pretentious. Perhaps in response to the demands of American audiences, the riffs rose at times to the point of overkill, Anderson's stage gestures simultaneously veering to the point of self-parody. In retrospect, it might have been a turning point, an omen of things to come. Yeah.
Nice.
But then I'll skip down to the bottom of this. One last quote here. Well, actually, two things. First, says, since this was in 1968, Jethro Tull, as previously mentioned, has been an exquisitely Ian Anderson's band, though the contributions of manager Terry Ellis, who is the co-founder of Chrysalis Records, has been equally influential. Okay. One of rock's more intelligent and articulate artists, there are those who think Anderson has squandered his talents in wasteful areas. However, 9 U.S. gold albums and a horde of fantastical followers might argue to the contrary. Yeah. And then the last thing, Dave, you had mentioned about the MU compilation. In here, as of 1977, it says they had two compilations. One of them called Living in the Past, which was a two album set that had the second album was all previously unreleased material. And in here it says it's by far superior to the MU compilation that you just showed earlier. I don't know. I haven't listened to either one of them, but
right. There's so much to listen to. Okay, I'll make you small again. I've been joined by a few people that I've just noticed here. Bill Kay, my dear friend Bill Kay. We go back about 4 years where we went on other shows together and became friends there. So, Bill, good to see you, brother. I always appreciate seeing some of my old friends show up. It's heartwarming, to be honest with you. We've been joined by Steve Dennison. Thank you so much, Steve. We appreciate you showing up and spending some time with us. Please come back. So anyway, let's see. Bill K. and we got Novice Nick's comments. Bill K. Piccolina. Ian LaBelle. Thanks, Ian. I love the way you participate on the show. Thank you so much. Hey there, Caitlin. Yeah, Bill K. and Caitlin and I and a bunch of us we're all together on previous shows that I'd mentioned. And we all had fun. Okay, so all right, we are going to move on now to David Safe and Sound.
All right. Well, I'll make an announcement that I'm going to be releasing an Aqualung shootout.
Oh, you are? Look at this.
One of the records will be the UHQR 2x45.
Okay.
All right.
Quality record pressing, and I'll also have the 1997 classic records release remastered by Steve Hoffman and Kevin Gray.
Awesome.
So there'll be probably 6 or maybe 7 different pressings in this. I will comment about the Steven Wilson, but since it isn't an apples to apples, I tend to not put that one in the same because it's not using some 2-track stereo.
Right.
In it. So, but look for that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, next couple of weeks. Great. I'd love to watch that. Yeah, outstanding. Thank you, David. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming tonight too, man.
You're
we appreciate.
Enjoyed
It's been a little while. Thank you so much. Let's get together more often. And I got to get over to your show as well. Okay, Nick, what y'all got to say for yourself? Peace.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Peace on you.
There it is. I absolutely have a great time.
Looks like a Kiss concert with the confetti falling. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I never miss one of Dave's shootouts because they're always done so well. And
Nobody better.
and
Nobody better.
I don't believe I believe you're correct. Lots of fun. This was a fun shootout. I spun some of my Tull this evening this week. I do have a few doubles of a couple of albums just to hear the differences and upgrading.
Yeah.
I upgraded Aqualung, but it's just a whole lot of fun, and just we don't have enough time to venture through each artist or
Yeah.
our collections.
No, that's right.
It's a shame you hear something or we discuss something or you throw out a suggestion of what we'll be doing next week, and immediately I'm like, well, there's music I haven't heard in a while. It's about time I got to it.
That's right.
Because
Right.
sometimes you're just looking something to spark a direction to go in. So
Right.
I want to say, make sure everybody hits that thumb up.
Oh, thank you so
like,
much. Thank you
a
so
like
much.
for Royce's show. If you get a chance and you really want to support, subscribe and hit the bell. And once again, I want to thank you, Royce, for inviting me to a wonderful show.
No worries. Yeah, and I want to thank you, Nick, and definitely be back next week, please.
Yes, sir.
Let me
Please.
before I put Dawson on for some closing comments, I want to say, yeah, folks, please hit the like button, the thumbs up button, and in case you don't understand the importance of that, there's an algorithm out there, and the more likes you get, the more likely you are to be presented to people looking for content. 50 is kind of if you hit 50 right away, and I don't mean to hit 50 2 weeks after the show, but if you hit 50 within the first day or so, you get your channel gets spread. It's being put in front of people searching for content, right? So that enables a show to grow, get more subscribers, get more views, have more great people in the chat. So that's what that's a really cheap, free way to help support a channel. And if somebody's watching later that's not a subscriber, I'm assuming most of you here are subscribed, but if somebody's watching later that's not a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. And then the bells will pop up. The very top one's a black bell. You hit that notification bell and you'll be sure to get a notification when one time. You're not going to get bugged to death. Just you'll get a one-time notification when the next show's coming on. So all that stuff's really important. We do have a membership. If somebody wants to add a little extra support to the channel and things like that. So anyway, enough said there. Let's get Dawson up here as I work my way through the final chat messages. Hey, Dawson.
Let me see if I could share my screen here. Can you see the sharing on there?
I do. I didn't know what that was. Let's see. You want me to hit that?
Yep.
Is that what we're talking about?
Okay, I just had the email up here. Okay, go back to the mine again, to my regular face, please.
Your regular face. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
just going to pull this up here, and I just had it. I met Martin Barre a few years ago at
Okay.
the Queen Seneca Theater in Niagara Falls. And so here I have a picture of me meeting him and shaking his hand. I was in the first row. I got to see him play with his solo band. They did some Jethro Tull tracks. They did some new tracks. And I mean,
Wow.
like the perfect tone, great sound, and I was just right up there up front. So let's see if you could turn the screen share back on and my window here and see if we can see me meeting Martin.
You
here.
know, that's really not here any longer. Oh yeah, it is. So I'm sorry.
Can you see it all right?
This one?
Yep.
Yeah, you can see it fine.
You see it okay?
I can see it okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, yep. Okay, so I'm flipping it over. There's me and him. They had the album out, Back to Steel. And there's me and the legend here. And
Oh wow.
yeah, I was just right in the front row and just rocking on to the great sound. So you can put me back on my face there again.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, and here's the autograph from Martin Barre. So
Wow.
had a great time.
Nice.
I think they might have brought out the flute for one or two songs just as reminiscence, but it was mostly just a modern, solid, straightforward hard rock show with a couple of jazz interludes and very professional, very professional. So hope everyone enjoyed the show today. Rampage video just hit about 2 million views as a guest. I've been on over 80 channels and over 100 hours of live stream experience, and I have to thank Royce and Michael and everyone on the panel for bringing me along on this rock and roll journey.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, we appreciate you coming on and helping us out. Yeah, we appreciate having you here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks. Thank you. All right, let's close. Let's see.
Oh, let me stop there. Okay, there we go.
Okay. All right, let's see.
Is there anybody out there?
Yeah.
Hey, you.
Royce, close that window.
There we go.
Close that share screen window, Royce.
Yeah.
Is there
Royce gone to Michael land.
Sorry, I got excited. You know, I wanted to share that photo. You don't get to meet someone like that too often.
That's right. Yeah. Well, anyway, so we're all present here. Let me pull the chat down.
I like to say,
I don't. Let me see. Let me find a little.
There you go.
There you go.
For us, guys. Sorry about that.
Somebody said they didn't see Songs for the Woods, so I thought I'd put it up.
Yeah. You know what? I have that. I don't know. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good album.
I do have
The
that.
transitional album, but it was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised when you said
Of course,
that.
this is more my speed. Too old to
Yeah.
rock and roll, too young to die.
Well, let's
Stand Up.
see.
That's the best album. Come on, that's my favorite.
Hey, sorry
one.
about that, Dave. You didn't get a chance to give us any closing comments here.
My feelings are so hurt. No, I'm just kidding. things happen. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. But before I forget, congratulations on so much success so far, Dawson. Keep up the great work, and same thing for you, Royce.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the shows. I'm learning a lot, and I'm able to share the little bit of knowledge I have with everybody. And I really appreciate everybody's personal stories. That's really awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it totally is. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for being here, Dave. You're always welcome.
Anytime. Yeah, anytime.
You're always welcome. Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to say Joseph Blue has asked me what's going on next week. And by popular demand, we're going to be talking about the band The Doors. Ooh. I keep getting asked to do The Doors. So everybody, please come back and talk about The Doors with us. Yeah. Yeah, we did a Doors show really not that long ago. It was right after they had released that new box set and kind of a limited edition. I think it's back on Rhino for something like $650 something. Has anybody seen that or?
No, I've been to their site. I haven't seen the box. I've seen it sold as separate albums, but I might be mistaken.
I've got the box. I bought the box.
Yeah.
So did I.
How did you like it?
Pretty damn good.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
Well, it was gone before I even heard about it. I did at Record Store Day. I did get the box, 4 or 5 albums. I can't remember now. Of the live in Detroit, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody else has that, but I haven't been able to see the real box, the one you have, David.
Of being gone, the FOMO hit hard on the 14th. Friday, FOMO smashed it with a Black Sabbath release.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was gone in.
You mean this one?
Yeah, 12 hours with 5,000 copies.
Wow.
Gone.
This one's in quad, though. Another quad.
It was 12 hours.
Yep.
Of course it's quad.
Of course.
But But yeah, it was going. That was I believe the fastest sellout. Yeah.
Yeah, Piccolina. I don't know what happened to Michael. He kind of went off the screen and made one last comment, which also disappeared, and he was gone.
That I think you read was my comment. I asked where Michael was, and
okay.
Yeah,
So
that was my comment because
he was
I'm
taking
hoping
too much time, so you knocked him off, Nick.
I'm hoping he did not take it at that because we usually banter back and forth.
Right.
Oh, I
drum up
doubt that's
some.
the case, Nick.
Well, folks.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
I think we're gonna call it in now, and I want to thank all my co-hosts. Thank you guys so much. It's just really made the show so much more better having all you here helping. And I want to thank the wonderful chat. We absolutely love the chat. There's nothing like it. I really appreciate all of you coming here with me and watching the show and your comments. You leave such great comments all the time and stuff. So anyway, next week we'll be talking about the Doors. We'll probably have an Alice Cooper within a couple of weeks after that. So I just want to say thanks once again to everybody. And that's what's happening in Royce's world today. And thank you all so very much for being here, helping, and enjoying the show. Thank you.